Hello and welcome back to Politically Incorrect. I'm Tom Christiano. Well, tonight we have an outstanding panel on the show with our town manager and 3 Chelmsford Citizens of the Year, as this is our annual Citizen of the Year award show. So our 3 Citizens of the Year and our town manager are going to help us name who the awardees are this year for the 2013 Chelmsford Citizens of the Year. We're also going to be discussing quite a few local issues, pretty much all Chelmsford issues on the show. So with me tonight, we have this wonderful panel of our town manager, Paul Cohen. Thanks for being here, Paul.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
You know what time this is? Your 16th time on the show.
Wow, I'm getting there.
You can now get your driver's license. You can drive to the show now. So 16 times, and you've been our town manager, what, about 7 years?
7 years,
something like that?
yeah.
So it keeps adding up. We do about 2 a year, maybe. I'd love to have you more, but I know how busy you are. But thanks for being on the show, Paul. Every year you come on this show and my anniversary show.
Yep.
So we get your picture up on the wall of fame in my house of all the anniversary shows with all the town manager and the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, School Committee, and Planning Board. Someday you got to come over, Paul. If you have a chance, come and look at it.
Okay.
Now that my house is sided, it doesn't look that bad, right, Charlie?
It looks much better, I must admit.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thanks. So thanks for being here, Paul. And we have my good friend Becky Warren with us. How are you, Becky?
I'm great, Tom. How are you today?
Good, good, thanks. And Becky, this is what, your 5th time on the show?
5 times.
And you're also a Citizen of the Year, what was it, last year, 2012?
Last year.
This current year, actually, 2012. So congratulations on that.
Thank
You're well
you.
deserved because, as everyone may know, you're the president of the Chelmsford Historical Society, also past president and longtime board member of the Chelmsford Land Conservation Trust.
That's correct.
You're in Lowell. You're a park ranger, right? Or something. You just
Was
came
just
from that?
there moments ago, and we had 6 classes from all over New England. So that's about 200 kids visiting Lowell and learning about, of course, early East Chelmsford and
Really?
Lowell.
Early East Chelmsford you talked about today.
Absolutely.
And you're a wonderful public speaker, too.
Well, thank
they're so
you.
lucky to have you there at with the guards or whatever they are, the rangers. Park rangers.
I love it, and it's always different every day, which makes it nice.
Oh, it's fantastic. What a great job that must be, you know, except when they have sequesters or furloughs, right? Because you had to go through that this year to some extent.
I had a vacation for a week and a half, and it was, I'd rather not do that again, thank you.
Yeah. Was yours, did it end up being unpaid or paid?
It ended up being paid after
right.
all that. So
Well, that's good.
So it was a vacation, but it was day to day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for being here.
My
again,
pleasure
Becky.
to be here. Thank you.
And we have my good friend Charlie Wojtas with us again tonight. How are you, Charlie?
Oh, just fine, Tom, and I always enjoy coming here. It's always good.
Good. It should be fun tonight. We always love having you, Charlie. Otherwise, I wouldn't have invited you 22 times. This is your 22nd time on the show.
I thought it was like 20. Okay,
No, 22. So you're ahead of your sister Pat.
Great.
By
That's
about-
all I want to do.
By about 2. And Charlie was also a Citizen of the Year,
Yeah, in
2009.
2009. Yep.
And because Charlie does so much for the town, as you all know, he was on the planning board for about 9 years. He's been a longtime town meeting representative. He's currently an alternate on the Chelmsford Zoning Board of Appeals. He's on the Agricultural Commission. He volunteers for Camp Paul. He was on the board over there, the Paul Center, and he does sewer tie-ins sometimes with his company. And Charlie donated so much time and energy and virtual, money, in-kind contributions of thousands of dollars to the Paul Center and to our tree lighting. He shows up with his trucks very often there.
Tractors, Tom.
The tractors,
John
yeah.
Deere tractors only.
And also the farm fair at the Beer Byam House, the Historical Society. You volunteer your tractors over there.
Yep, of course.
So thanks a lot, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Now, what do I get paid for that wonderful introduction?
I'll pay you later, Tom. I'll
Don't
buy
I
you lunch
deserve
or
something for that? I mean, did I go over and beyond, above and beyond?
You did,
I'm just
Tom.
kidding, Charlie. You deserved everything with that. And your wonderful wife, Joan, hopefully we'll get her to watch the show tonight, if I mention her
No,
name.
she's at a party. She won't be
Oh,
home.
okay. Well, I mean, not actually on TV tonight, but, in the next week or two.
Okay, I'll tell
Because
her.
we're taping this on Thursday, so actually, the next time it'll be on will be Sunday morning at 11 a.m. But it will be on Facebook and on YouTube tomorrow, though, if all goes well. So once you get a computer, Charlie, you could watch
Someday,
it online.
Tom,
No, I know
someday.
you will. You will very soon. I know it. No, he is. Charlie, I just mentioned that, Charlie, because I know you're in the process
No problem.
of getting a computer. So thank you, Charlie. No, his wife has one, so. But thank you, Charlie. And
Not that funny to him.
No, I know. I'm laughing because you're probably going to kill me on the way home for saying that.
You're going to walk home.
I'm going to walk in that cold weather. Oh, my God. And we all say thanks for being here, Charlie. And
You're welcome.
22 times, we got another 11 to go. And you'll be the #1 on the show. And we have my good friend, Dr. Phil, with us tonight, Phil Stanway. Dr. Phil is my colloquial, informal name for you. But I think you're a more famous Phil than the one on TV named Dr. Phil's Show, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. And you do more for Chelmsford, that's for sure. Oh, my God, because as everyone knows, Phil Stanway is the lead open space steward. What has it been, 7, 8 years now you've had the
7 years.
organization? 7 years? And I've done so much for the town with you help with all your stewards getting together and taking care of the trails and doing so much at all our
You know, the
activities.
schools now.
The schools now doing
Camp
so much for
Hall,
the
the old
schools.
mill, community gardens.
Community gardens, yeah.
We're on our 23rd to 24th Eagle Scout project.
Wow.
3 more scheduled for next year so far.
It's amazing all that you do. And how do you do that and have time to take care of your own property?
I don't take care of my own property.
I knew I set you up for that one because I know Duran is always joking about that. How when are we going to get Phil to do my own yard, our own yard?
Soon.
So yeah, and you have bought a nice suit this year for us, right? This is
Yeah.
the first year with his suit and tie.
Well, I figure it's time to look professional, at least on this show.
Yes.
He's gone back to school. Yeah, he's
Oh,
now
yeah,
he's
just-
educated, yeah.
Yes, I'm
That's-
back in school, just finished taking advanced computer courses.
Advanced computer course is wonderful. And what are you going to do with them? Because you're in computers
keep my
now,
job.
right? Yeah. Well, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. So yeah, because you're working in the computer field now, right?
Have for 35 years.
35 years, wow. And you also were a Chelmsford Citizen of the Year on this show in 2008.
Correct.
So we have you 2008, Charlie 2009, Becky 2012, and then tonight we're going to be naming 5 new Chelmsford Citizens of the Year for 2013. I think all the viewers at home will agree with us that we have very good selections this year, and I think every year. We just try to thank a lot of our volunteers for the town. We try not to pick people who are full-time employees like Paul Cohen, for example, or, so many wonderful people work for the town full-time, but that's their full-time job. And what we want to do is those who go above and beyond their jobs, like you all have jobs, and you volunteer for the town in so many ways and the town's people. And that's what we try to thank and show appreciation for every year with these awards. So, Phil, is there anything else you want me to say in your introduction?
That was pretty much covered.
pretty
You
much
didn't tell me
covered.
how many times I've been on the show, though.
Oh, good, you're right. 6, I think. 6th. This is your 6th time in the show.
That's nothing compared to the rest of this crew.
Well, with Becky, though, you're ahead of Becky.
No?
You beat me. Something to aspire to.
Yes. Well, every year, if things go well, we'll have you and maybe Becky, maybe
There we
Charlie, and
go.
hopefully Paul, as long as he's town manager, on every show in December for our Citizen of the Year. Because you always help me pick out the Green Citizen of the Year, right? And you helped me pick out a wonderful person this year.
Someone that most people don't even know,
Yeah.
which is what we tried to do with that one.
Which is great, yeah. So every year, what I usually do is I read the previous Citizens of the Year from 2006, just because, we don't want to forget them, and most of them are still volunteers with the town, not all of them. And we just want to keep their names in mind there, that these are people who've done a lot for the town, and we still want to recognize them, right, Paul? Isn't that a good
Yeah,
idea?
you can put them on your show's website, listen by year.
I could, yeah.
But you'd have to have a computer in order to see it, though.
I come here. Isn't that good enough?
Well, Charlie, we'll get Charlie pretty soon. He's in the market, I know that.
I'm in the market.
And I'm going to help him if he wants. I can help him buy a nice computer at Amazon.com or wherever you want to go.
And then you can sign them up for Facebook, right?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be
No
on Facebook. We had quite a discussion today on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it, Paul, about a state issue, but it's interesting. Facebook is great, by the way. But we'll talk more about that in the show because I have some groups that I'd like people to join on Facebook. Well, I've been doing this show since 1995, and we kind of did, at the end of every year, we kind of did awards, but initially it was kind of informal. We didn't actually have an award document like we do now, when we began that in 2006. So beginning in 2006, Here's our Citizens of the Year: John and Linda Shumley, Pat Maloney, Reverend Mark Bishop, who was a chaplain in Iraq, Carrie Spidell, who I understand she's a town manager somewhere now,
Lunenburg, yeah,
in
down in
Lunenburg.
Lunenburg,
Yeah,
yeah.
she was our treasurer and a temporary town manager until Paul came on, I believe. And Mary Tiano. So that was 2006. Wonderful people. And then in 2007, our Citizens of the Year were Kathy Duffett, Phil and Deb Jones, Laura McLaughlin and Donna Newcomb, Angie Taranto, and Jim Trebo, who was an open space steward and still is, doing a great job. Our 2008 Citizens of the Year were Len Doolin, Walter Headland, Phil Stanway, who is here with us tonight, George Simonian, and Evelyn Thorne. Our 2009 Citizens of the Year were Carol and Walter Clevin, Cindy McLean, who has done a tremendous amount for the bike path and other things, Kathy Bruff, George Ripsum, and Charlie Wojtas, who is here with us tonight. And our 2009 Green Citizens of the Year were Donna and Henry Parlee and Santiago Rios. Our 2010 Citizens of the Year were Bob Greenwood, George Merrill, Mary Franz, Ralph Hickey and Barbara Renison, and Roy Early. And our 2010 Green Citizens of the Year were Bob Morse and Jennifer Almeida, who currently works in the town clerk's office, right?
Yes.
Our 2011 Citizens of the Year were Deb Taverna, who does a lot with the Garrison House and many other places, Carol and Fred Merriam, who takes a lot of our pictures of our town projects. If you check on Facebook, Chelmsford Reps and Residents, you'll see the latest update by Fred of the Chelmsford Fire Station and the Chelmsford Country Club that he updated us with recently. Also, Sheila Pichette and Madeline Needles. Our 2011 Green Citizens of the Year were Ken Dews, Mike Riley, and John Smith. Our 2012 Citizens of the Year were Lynn Marcella, Becky Warren, who is with us tonight, Susan Gates, and Laura Lee. And our 2012 Green Citizen of the Year was Jeff Apostolakis. So tonight we'll be talking about a 2013 Citizens of the Year. And here's the award for Linda Prescott. If you could see, hopefully you could see it, I think, there. So they're nice and framed. Thank you to Chelmsford Telemedia for providing the frames. And thank you for our town manager, Paul Cohen, for signing all of our Citizen of the Year awards. I always make sure that Paul agrees with them beforehand, so I don't ask him to sign one that he wouldn't like. So, right, Paul, you agree with everybody, I hope, right, Paul?
Right, we've never rejected anything.
Yeah, right. So the first one that we have tonight, the 2013 Chelmsford Citizen of the Year, is this wonderful person, Linda Prescott. And I wondered if Becky Warren could lead us with the discussion of Linda Prescott.
Absolutely. Myself being involved with the history of Chelmsford, this is a person that didn't grow up in Chelmsford, but came to Chelmsford and has a passion for preserving its past, for preservation. So a lot of the old homes in town are protected because of some of the work that Linda has done, whether it's on a committee, whether it's on the Historical Commission, which she served as chairperson for a while. She's been involved in the master plan for the town of Chelmsford. So her involvement in looking at the big picture for the town, where are the important places to protect, and she's been a champion to make sure that those areas get protected, whether it's a house, a barn, whether it's a district, to keep the feel of Chelmsford. So I think it's great to think that she started out, as she called herself, a bucket lady, meaning she went to the different cemeteries in town with Jane Drury and was documenting the stones in the cemetery. So that was her start. She'd bring a bucket, sit on it, and etch out what each stone was. And that's how she got her foot in the door in learning about Chelmsford's history as a bucket lady. And then it has evolved to her becoming part of the town's planning process to preserve these wonderful places. So a very deserving award for Linda, and I'm thrilled.
Yes, I agree entirely. I also went to our town website just to see what committees Linda was
Sure.
currently on, and she's currently on the Community Preservation Fund Committee,
Right.
the Chelmsford Historical Commission, and she was on the Master Plan Committee. And in fact, she just spoke at this recent Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday night, right? It's
Yeah, with presenting the historic and cultural plan, which is available on the website, which is a significant accomplishment and a real asset towards preserving the town's history.
Wonderful. Well, Linda Prescott is well-deserving, as Becky said, and thank you so much for that wonderful summary,
Oh,
Becky.
you're very welcome. My pleasure.
And would anybody, any of our other guests would like to talk about Linda at all? If
I have worked with Linda over the years through our program,
Yeah.
and she's been a wealth of information. It's better than Google. You can ask her stuff about the town, and you'll get it immediately, and you get it correctly.
Better than Google. Wow, wow. Well, our next Chelmsford Citizen of the Year is our Green Citizen of the Year, Elliot Lee. Do you pronounce it Lee?
Yes.
L-E-A, but it's Lee. And I wondered if our lead open space steward can talk about Elliot Lee and why he deserves a Chelmsford Citizen of the Year this year. Green.
Elliot is a name that a lot of people probably don't recognize. Elliot is an older gentleman. He's in his mid-70s, and he is the heart and soul of our community garden at Sunny Meadow. He cuts the grass. He takes care of the water. He makes sure that the gardens are growing right. He handles any issues between gardeners. He also grows, he's a fantastic gardener, helps people out, but he also grows stock and gives it to the donations. And the garden produces somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds of produce a year, which is donated to the local food pantries. So he makes sure the trains runs on time.
Wow.
And he's there every day. But again, mid-70s. It's great to see some of our
Mid-70s,
older
wow.
people. And
And he's volunteering all his time.
every time.
He
and-
doesn't
and-
get paid for this.
Nope, and he's there, and he's trucking stuff around in his car and beating the hell out of it, and just does amazing things. There is only one thing bad about Elliot. In the open space, I like to go out there and figure maybe I can get away from things. Well, every time I see Elliot, he does this, and he pulls out this little blue book. He opens it to the first page, and it's generally, we need a lawnmower. We need some gas. We need this fix. There's a problem with this pot. There's a problem with that pot. Can you handle the water here?
Yeah.
And so it
Funny.
continues on.
That's
So I've got him a new book to go along with the award. And because I know that this probably isn't enough, for 2014, I've got him a few more. And I expect him to fill all of
There's
these.
about 10 books there, right, or
Yeah.
more.
But
Oh my God.
he keeps everything running down there on time. And I wish I had a dozen more like him. So Elliot Lee, a fantastic guy.
He's a wonderful person, and I'm so glad that you selected him this year. He's a great,
And not many people,
hardworking
and not many people know
volunteer.
who he is, which is
great. Becky, would you mind holding this instead of me? Because I
I'd
might
be
do a little bit
happy
of
to.
talking
I'd be
about
happy to.
our next Chelmsford Citizen of the Year is Peggy Dunn, 2013 Chelmsford Citizen of the Year. Peggy Dunn works with me as a member of the Chelmsford Board of Library Trustees, and she volunteers there, of course. She's been a longtime town meeting representative, and I believe she's currently Precinct 1. She's been on the Chelmsford Village Master Plan Committee. She's been on the she is on the Grinder Pump Study Committee, which is a 9-member committee that's currently working very hard on that issue. She's on the Middlesex Canal Commission. She's also on the Chelmsford Tree Committee. I believe she also was one of the founders, if not the founder, of the Chelmsford Winterfest many, many years ago. And so Peggy does a lot of volunteer work for the town. It's like no matter what, she's always volunteering and really trying to help the town do well. She attends many, many of our town functions, whether it's the 4th of July or Winterfest or whatever. You always see Peggy there supporting the town of Chelmsford. So that's why she was selected as a Chelmsford Citizen of the Year. And Paul, I was wondering if you could add anything.
Yeah,
to
I think
what
her most
mentioned.
notable, she's on the Center Village Master Plan Committee, and they presented their plan to the planning board last evening, and they're coming to the selectmen on January 27th with their presentation. And so, as you said, if there's anything involves the town's history or planning, she's sort of right in the middle of it.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely.
It's wonderful. Anybody comments
Well, I have
over
a
here?
question. Why did she get that rather than the green? Because the first day I met Peggy Dunn, probably 10 years ago,
Yeah.
first thing out of her mouth was, "Would you be on the tree committee?" I go, "What does tree committee do?" "Oh, we're going to plant trees all over Chelmsford, and you should be on it because you're a farmer and you know trees. And I go, okay, then I'll be on it. But somehow that never came up. So a green person of the year too, maybe.
Yeah.
She started a group that predated the stewardship and did a lot of volunteer work in town, especially active at Crooked Spring and Thanksgiving Forest. And this was when we started our program, she was one of the people we went to find out how she did it, what she found, and what she didn't like. So a tremendous resource there too.
She also is obviously concerned about and thinking about Chelmsford history by being on the Center Village Committee, and was instrumental in working with other folks in getting the beautiful mural done inside what is now Chantilly Place, the mill building in the center of town. Phil, when you go to look for that wedding gown or, whatever down there, I went in too, but anyway, if you go inside, you get a beautiful view of what downtown or the center of Chelmsford might have looked like in the mid-1800s or the early 1800s. And that was part of her instrumental being in wanting people to know about Old Chelmsford. So go take a look. It's beautiful.
I never knew that.
Thank you. And it looks like the Chantilly place is doing well in the center there, I believe.
That's what they're...
They've done a
She's a
fantastic
wonderful
job.
person. Colleen Ferry, I believe, is the owner there.
Yeah.
And she was a singer that I did the Chelmsford Spring Celebration concerts, like in 1999, 2000, before you came here to Chelmsford, Paul, at the McCarthy School Auditorium. And she was one of the young singers at that time.
Oh, my goodness.
And now she's a successful businesswoman, which is fantastic. And I think it's a nice addition to the town. Thank God we saved that place. Many of you probably don't remember this, but many years ago there was a proposal to tear down that house and put in metered parking, metered parking over there. Do you remember
No,
that,
I do
Charlie?
not.
Okay. Of course, I could be misremembering it, but I think I remember that okay. But it's a crazy idea now, right? You think, who would ever want to do that? But hey, in the mid-'90s, there was looking for ways to make some money and provide more parking in the center, but that wasn't a good idea, and it didn't go anywhere, thank God. So anyway, Becky, would you mind holding this one?
I'd be happy to.
Our next Chelmsford Citizen of the Year is Stephanie Bush. Stephanie Bush is a town meeting representative for Precinct 2. She also runs many blood drives. As you know, unfortunately, she and her children have mitochondrial disease. So Stephanie is trying to help out with that disease by helping to raise blood, because they require many blood kind of transfusions or additional blood platelets. So she has run many, many blood drives over the years here in Chelmsford. And she also, some of you may remember the Woodcrest fire about a year ago here in Chelmsford. And as soon as that happened, even though Stephanie isn't the healthiest person in town with her mitochondrial disease, she was there right away looking to do anything she could to help, including a fundraiser that we had at the Elks, gathering clothes and all kinds of donations for them. So it made me think of what a wonderful person is. There she is, not feeling well, and she's looking out for others and being very compassionate towards others. And that's what a true Citizen of the Year is, I think. She's also she's a member of the Commission on Disabilities here in Chelmsford. So is there anything else? Anybody else want to add anything to what I mentioned about Stephanie Bush?
No, I think you got it right, Tom. It seems like whenever there's a need to be addressed, she steps forward and tries to help out.
Yes, she does. She does. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations, Stephanie. And our next Citizen of the Year, and I think our final one, some of you who watch this show may not be as familiar with Maureen McGowan as I am, because Maureen, could you hold this, Becky?
I'd be happy to.
Maureen is the one of the founders of the Table of Plenty here in Chelmsford. And the Table of Plenty has been going on for about 3 years now. And what it is, it's a group of volunteers, and there's, say, a group of volunteers from the All Saints Church, and a group from the First Parish Church, a group from St. Mary's Church, which I think Maureen is a member of, and different social organizations. They volunteer to come in and provide a free, wonderful meal, and not on paper plates or anything, but dishes with nice coffee cups, etc., no paper at all, for people, anybody who wants it, who can come, and they could come and socialize with their friends. And usually I'm a volunteer there, and I see about 40 to 60 people there, sometimes more. Like last Tuesday, there was more like 70 that were fed at that wonderful meal, and they all appreciate it. And then there's like Panera Bread. They donate so much bread and bagels that are provided there, and these people could take that home if they would like to. So it's a wonderful way for these individuals to get out, get a nice warm meal, and socialize with their friends at no cost whatsoever. And so Maureen McGowan was one of the founders of this organization, the Table of Plenty organization. And she's a wonderful person who has started this. And I also read in our town website that she's also a member of the Chelmsford Civic Committee. So she also volunteers in other ways. In addition, I believe she's a big volunteer at St. Mary's Church. So congratulations, Maureen McGowan, to being one of our 2013 Citizens of the Year.
Oh, just so you know, Tom, that's written incorrectly. See, can you read it?
Citizen of the Year,
Yeah.
Chelmsford,
Right,
2013.
right,
Citizen of the Year.
right, but underneath,
Oh, underneath.
yeah.
Oh, I got to redo this one. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, hopefully this is the only one I did that. Yeah, so I had Maureen's, I don't have Maureen's name down below that Charlie noticed. So Paul, I'll have to redo
Okay,
that
that's
one
fine.
and send it over to you, or
Okay.
bring it over for
Sure, I'll be around.
signature. So Maureen, we'll get you that later. I probably would be giving it to you at a Table of Plenty next month anyway, so we have plenty of time. But hopefully you'll see this show, though. But not this part, not the part I just mentioned. No, but thanks, Charlie, for mentioning that. Because what I do, of course, I have a template, and then I change the names and everything. I do it on my own computer. And fortunately, we had very nice Trish Dershus. How do you pronounce her last name?
Duras.
Duras. I'm sorry, Trish. She was nice enough to print this out for us this year, because I've been having a problem getting my color printer to work well. So Trish graciously agreed to do that for us. So maybe I'll ask her to do that again. I could email it to her, and then you could sign it right there, Paul.
Sure.
And then I could just come over and pick it up and reframe it. So, well, now I thought maybe we could talk about the topics on the show tonight. And Paul, maybe if we could start with you on, maybe if you want to update us on the Dutton House, what's going on with that, which is right next to the library.
Sure. The Dutton House, as you know, is next to the library. The town has had ownership of the Dutton House for over 20 years now. It was acquired when the town sought the expansion of the Adams Library. And at that time, there were two homes present. One has moved up now located at Ann's Way. And now this Dutton House, the library trustees have asked that it be relocated off of the property so that they can do some expansion work in terms of the building and the grounds. So we're out with an invitation for bids, which is due on the 2nd of January. And, you know, we'll be appearing before the Historical Commission. And the goal is to preserve the home and to keep it in the town of Chelmsford. And we've had a couple bidders express interest, and we're hoping to bring conclusion to this in the next month, and then have the home moved by the middle of the calendar year.
I hope so. Well,
Yeah.
I did watch
Yep.
the discussion
Yep.
at the Selectmen's meeting Monday, and as you know, as a library trustee, I've been following this very closely. I do hope we could save that house, and I hope that we could negotiate too with whatever bidder. See, I used to negotiate for 24 years, and we wouldn't just have to accept the bid in its entirety. We could negotiate with somebody. If we wanted to just accept the bid in its entirety, we issue a request for quote. And like, say you want to buy a gross of pencils or something. Now that usually you don't negotiate. But with a proposal we'd get for like a big laser system at Hanscom Air Force Base, we would negotiate with them. So I would hope with these individuals that submitted the bid, like we take the one that looks the best, maybe the one who submitted the $5,000 deposit that was requested, that we negotiate with them. And I noticed he asked for a betterment waiver, the betterment fee, but I wondered why the town can't, since this is a historic building that we want to save, why the town can't go to whoever's in charge of that and see if we could negotiate that away for them.
It may
so
be,
that
but
they
the,
don't.
but the problem is you have to have a level playing field, and that would be the issue. If you and Phil were bidding and you said you got the waiver, and Phil said, well, I didn't know I could get the waiver, then
I know.
Phil would have been at a disadvantage.
It complicates it a
And
little
so
bit.
it comes into the whole procurement law issue.
I'd let Tom win.
Right.
But how about, yeah. but
Anyway,
how
I'm
about
sure
the-
we'll work out the details, and I think
But
there'll be
I
a good
can't-
faith effort to get it resolved. In
Yeah,
the,
but hopefully,
weeks
there was
ahead.
one other bidder, maybe we could communicate with that other bidder, and, you know, even
We
on
did.
the
We
on
did.
the
After
phone.
the meeting, we did send them letters explaining what what
Yeah.
the concerns were, and
Yeah.
inviting them to bid again. So,
Yes, yeah.
So hopefully it will get
But
resolved.
I'm hoping when the bids do come in, that we do negotiate, is my point, Paul, and that if we're worried about a protest, I would talk to that other bidder who might submit a bid and say, you know, is this okay with you if we do this or that? Or do you want to, you know, negotiate with them, basically? I know, I think it's okay to do, or at least it should be okay, it seems to me, because as I said, it's not what's called formally advertising, where you don't negotiate with somebody. You also have a negotiating process, right, Paul? But maybe you feel you can't do that now, I don't know.
We're trying to conform to the law and the standards, and
Yeah.
like I said, hopefully we'll get it resolved next month. We incorporate some of the concerns into this new round, so hopefully the matters will be addressed. But
Oh, I
the
hope
last
so,
thing we
Paul,
want to
yeah.
do is get tied up in a protest and delay the process.
Yeah, but I also don't think we need to be in a rush to destroy the house, right, Paul? Because, I mean,
No,
because
but
everybody
but
at the
you're on the
meeting, we were talking
trustees.
about,
As you know, the trustees are quite anxious to proceed with their project, and
Yeah.
and that was why we set the July 1st deadline.
yeah, but I hope, and I'm pretty sure the trustees would be flexible with that if we need more time.
Well, we'll have to-
At least, I believe so. You know, if we need another 6 months to go through negotiations or whatever. At least that's what they told me when we voted on that. So, you know, we'll see. But anyway, we'll see what will happen. But I was so glad to see, that we got 2 bidders, and that people were willing to move this house. It's a big
Yeah,
project. It's very
it is.
expensive, as Charlie could tell you. And-
Extremely expensive.
yeah,
I did look at it to move, and
yeah,
it just would be cost prohibitive.
yeah.
In that respect, my prediction is that house, I hate to say it, but it's going to end up in a dumpster. That's my prediction.
I don't
It's
know, but I
not going to
hope
be
not.
around.
Yeah, I hope not.
I hope not either.
Yeah, I mean, just so it could be preserved, like, that's why the bids would have to come in low, because Deb Taverna told me it costs about $50,000 to move the Jill Dock House, what's it called? Maybe Jill.
Jock
Hill
Hill.
Jock.
Dock Hill House.
Yeah, Jock, yeah.
Jock Hill House, yes, over to the Garrison House, about $50,000 to move that. And then you figure whoever wins will have to spend at least maybe a couple $100,000 to redo the house. So that's $250,000 right there. And then to take care of the utilities and the police, et cetera, when they move the wires, maybe another $50,000 for the foundation, et cetera. So you're talking at least $300,000,
At least.
if not $400,000. So it's going to be pretty expensive for someone, and that's why I was so glad to see we at least got 2 bids.
Well, the biggest challenge is where to put it. You need the lot to
Yeah.
put it on, and both
Yeah.
of those proposals
Yeah.
would really need to get zoning relief in order to put the
Yes.
home there, and that's how they're trying to address it. I mean, let's.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
only the alternate, Paul. I don't know what to tell you.
But I would hope that the zoning board of appeals, Paul,
Well, that would remain to be
that
seen.
they
so-
would give them the waiver.
Right. So we're
Because
going
this
to,
is
right.
a kind of a historic home that we're trying to save as a town.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, if it's a half-acre lot, which, you know, we have other houses in town on half-acre lots,
Mm-hmm.
in, you know, West Chelmsford, on Chelmsford Street, et cetera, maybe we can make an exception in this case for that. So if I was on the zoning board of appeals, I would, Charlie, if you have a chance to vote on it. But
I'll take that as testimony and
yeah, thank you, thank you.
accordingly.
Thanks, I'm on the record for that, so I'm
No
very much
problem.
in favor of it. Well, thanks, Paul, for the
Okay.
update on that, and good luck. Hopefully, everything will work out well on that. I know you'll try your best with it. I know you have been. Maybe if we could start with Phil Stanway on the next. Phil, do you want to talk a little about the community gardens and the amount of food that you donate through the gardens, the stewards donate, I should say?
Actually, the Steward just the support wing for the community garden. It's the Walter F. Lewis Community Garden Group, and they run the gardens in South Chelmsford and the garden in North Chelmsford. What we do is 10% of the lots are set aside for nonprofits or food pantries to grow, and that's written into our rules in there. And we have several food pantries. We have a couple churches. We have the synagogue in there, and they grow and directly donate to various food pantries. The the Congregational Church in the center, in 2 plots, they've donated over 1,500 pounds of final produce. And then we have the food pantries, they grow a couple hundred pounds. The synagogue grows for theirs, and then the gardeners themselves donate their extra stock, and that goes to Table of Plenty and the pantry in town. So as it goes, it's a great group, and it doesn't cost the town any money. The gardeners spend $50 a year, and that $50 goes into a fund, and the fund is used to support it. We pay for all the equipment, all the gas, everything is cut out there. CPC did donate the wood for the fences. We built the fences.
Community Preservation Committee. Yeah.
And we have 14 Eagle Scout projects on there, so a
Wow.
huge support from the Eagle Scouts.
That's fantastic.
And as community gardens go, we pump our own water, so we're not using town water or town electricity. And
Yes.
a lot of Medford came and asked us how we ran our community gardens in Chelmsford.
Wow.
Because
Because now there's one in North as well, right? I mean,
yes, there's
how's
one.
that one going?
That's going tremendously well. That actually we have a point-driven well there. So we have pumped into a 3,000 gallon tank, and the water is crystal clear.
Really?
It's
You can
absolutely
drink
beautiful. No.
Oh,
The
Well,
water,
it's
the
clear
water
anyway.
department will be
at
yelling
least
at
the
me.
vegetables could drink it.
But the water it's ice cold and crystal clear, and that garden is taking off really well. And of course, the 4 acres behind it are now back in farming. Under Jones Farm, they have that lease.
Wonderful.
So we have farming back again in North Chelmsford.
Wonderful.
And farming is one of the things we're very, very pushing. It's good to see farms and to get people involved. And by growing in a community garden, people are learning that grown produce is better than what you can buy in the store.
Yes.
So they're going more to the farmers markets, and they're going more
Yeah.
to the farm stands in town. So it's helping protect the farmers. And
Wonderful.
if once we lose them, we only have less than 4 or 5 left in town.
Yes.
And
yeah.
most of them we want to keep.
Yes.
Thank you, Phil.
And Charlie's on the Agricultural Commission, so he knows all about farming in Chelmsford, right? And
Well, what's
Trying to
left
preserve
of it,
it, what's
Tom?
left of it.
What's left?
And as you may know, we do have one of the farmers, you mentioned Phil Jones, is going to be on my show in mid-January, January 14th. We're going to have a small business special show with 5 small business people, mostly from Chelmsford. And Phil's going to be one of them. He's going to be bringing in some of his organic vegetables, et cetera. So
Nutrient dense.
nutrient dense, yes. So hopefully people will tune in for that show. Well, thank you, Phil. And maybe if we could ask Becky Warren, how are things going at the Chelmsford Historical Society? And maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about Fred's new book, Fred Merriam's.
Well, I would,
new
and
book?
adding on to Phil, our gardens are not growing at the moment because it's cold and
Yeah,
winter,
right, yeah.
But you do tend, when it's cold, you go inside and you find things that you might not have noticed before. So Fred Merriam did some wonderful scouting a while ago, and went up into the attic and found these awesome glass slides that and negatives that not a lot of people had seen in a long time. Yeah. So he scanned them and did research on them, and coming up, actually the first delivery arrived yesterday at his house
Of the
new
books?
book
All right.
for Chelmsford Revisited. So Arcadia Publishing has done a book on Chelmsford, and that was a partnership between the Historical Society and the Garrison House with Deb Taverna. And now we have volume 2. So there'll be all new pictures, and a lot of pictures that folks may not have seen in a long time because they were tucked up in our attic over for probably a couple of decades. So that book comes
that's
out.
wonderful.
I'm sure he'll have them around town, but at the Historical Society, we're going to have a program that he will do a book signing. And since you're my program chairperson for the Historical Society, I'll let you promote it.
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. March 30th, Fred Merriam will be there with this brand new book, and I proofread it with him too. So it's probably filled with mistakes, but no, because of me, not Fred. So it's a wonderful book because, as Becky said, there's a lot of beautiful historical photos, and then they limit the amount of words they could have under each photo, which is a little unfortunate, but so it's a little paragraph
Right.
under each photo, and it's a wonderful book. And Arcadia, as Becky said, had that earlier book, so it looks similar to the previous one. So we're going to have Fred giving a presentation at the Barrett Byam House on Byam Road in Chelmsford on Sunday, March 30th, at 2 p.m., starting at 2 p.m., and he'll talk about his book, and if anybody would want, they could buy a book there, and he'll sign it for you right there as well, if you'd like. So it's going to be a wonderful event, and I'm so glad that Fred has been doing this for us. It's tons and tons of work. He deserves a great deal of credit for doing this.
He's done a lot of work. What he's done is brought a lot of these historical photos and documents out into the open. He's scanned them, put them online. Maybe someday, Charlie, you'll see them online, but it's
Sure
great.
enough.
You know, researchers or people that used to live in Chelmsford and live in California now have a neat connection. They can come to the town's website for the Historical Commission, which Fred did, and also the Historical Society, and be able to get a glimpse of their hometown that maybe they remember from way back, or maybe it's even before their time. So it's making these resources available. They don't do anybody any good sitting in an attic in a box. You might as well bring them out and have people see them.
And they're amazing, those photos.
It's fun to see. And it's just fun to see what the center of town looked like 50 years ago, and the vehicles that we drove and what kind of stores were around at that time, and realize that Chelmsford's changed a lot, but what you'll also see are the icon buildings, right, that are still downtown in the area, whether it's in North Chelmsford with the town hall or in the center. A lot of those buildings are still around, and you can see them. So we're excited.
And your family has quite a connection to Chelmsford, right, Becky? Haven't they been in Chelmsford since about the 1600s?
1699.
Just made it, huh?
Just made it.
Just under
Yeah,
1700,
that's right.
I mean.
Well, at least where my parents live now, that came to the family as a wedding gift in 1699. The Warrens had been in town prior to that. So it's deep roots and a connection to the town and a connection to agriculture as well.
Yes.
We're out there in the summer times baling hay as a whole family. Not many people can say they do that.
Does your
We
family
still do
have that?
Mom and Dad
crop,
are out
27
there.
acres or something?
It's about 56 acres
56
of
acres.
farmland, and we're
in
out
between,
there. Acton Road and Boston
and
Road,
Boston Road,
in that little
right
nook.
near me, actually, where I live.
That's
So I
right.
actually see it just about every day.
That's right. Well,
when
we'll
I
have
drive
to
down.
invite you to come put the bales of hay on the
As
wagon.
long as I don't
when
have to
we're
lift
ready.
anything. My back isn't the greatest, as Charlie knows.
Well,
But I'm working on it, though.
There you
More
are.
exercises, it
There
can't
we are.
hurt. Thank you very much
Oh,
for the
thank you,
update,
Tom.
Becky, and thank you for doing such a great
Sure.
job as president of the Chelmsford Historical Society. Me being a board member, I can say that you are a wonderful person to work with on the board, and so pleasant and friendly. It's just been great, my 3 years on that board. So thank you very much.
it's been a pleasure having you on the board, and we'll still see you around.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be helping out
Absolutely.
just about as much as before.
Good.
I just don't like to be tied down to anything. Except this show, I
Except
guess.
this show, I
This
was gonna
show.
say,
Yeah,
right?
18 and a half years of this
See?
show. That's about it. And my
That's
3
a
cats. I'll be
commitment.
tied down to them, but that's it.
Okay,
Thanks, Becky.
sure.
And Charlie, I wonder if we could ask you about the Zoning Board of Appeals, how long you've been on it now, about this Mill Road 40B. That you may not be able to say much about that, but
How long? I've only been there 4 or 5 months, Tom.
4 or 5 months.
I just got appointed. Do you remember, Paul? Because I don't. 4 or 5 months. And the 40B on Mill Road is going like any 40B is going to go. The neighbors are all upset about it, which, you totally understand. I did read an article that said if you live next to a 40B, your property value goes down 10%, which, who wants that? So
Yes,
they're mainly concerned about safety.
yeah.
They're really
The Mill
afraid
Road
of the
one, right?
yeah, they're
Yes.
really afraid of the corner there.
Yeah.
And when you're coming out of the 40B, the 120 units,
Yeah.
it's pretty steep there, so they're afraid that cars are going to slide into the road, and there's going to be
Right.
all kinds of accidents,
Yeah.
and that's their main concern.
Yes, yeah.
But January
So
2nd,
is what?
we'll continue it, and
Continue the public hearing
we'll see what
on that?
happens.
Because quite a few residents came out to the last meeting you had, right? About that Mill Road 40B?
Right. It's
And
no
some
road.
spoke up, and Evan Belansky spoke. He's the community development director, right? and,
I don't remember what Evan said.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So how do you like being on the Zoning Board of Appeals, which I think is one of the most important committees in town, or boards? I really do. You have so much. In fact, the selectmen can't control 40Bs at all. They don't have a say, right, Paul?
Right,
It goes
the Board of
before the
Appeals.
Zoning
Yeah.
Board of Appeals, and that's it.
It's much different than planning board. Planning board, we wouldn't drag things out, but they just seem like they dragged out because the ducks weren't in a row. But on the zoning board of appeals, if someone appeals, if someone wants a new addition or a new garage, we normally do it in one night. It gets approved or denied.
Nice. That's
so
good.
they don't have to come back, because I know on the planning board they came back on like Bereka Road, they're coming back for 6 or 7 months at a time in one project, like a Kronos building.
Yes, yeah.
It would take forever to get approved.
Yeah. Well, we have, speaking of projects, we have the Stop and Shop Plaza in the center. They're going to start construction that soon, aren't they, Paul?
Yes, we're told they're going to start asbestos remediation within the next couple of weeks, and that you'll see actual physical signs of construction in January.
Wonderful. And I understand they already lined up 2 tenants.
Or 3, I think I understand.
3,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Because one, I guess, was a health club of some sort.
A fitness
Another
center,
was a Japanese restaurant.
and then there's a hair
Oh, a hair salon. Oh, nice.
Hair salon, yeah.
And you know, I like the design, the new facade they
Yes.
have there. I thought they did a great job. Remember the old days, you'd have a plaza, it's all straight across. It didn't look very appealing at all.
Right.
And they're putting quite a bit of money into that. I believe they bought that property for about $7.5 million. And then they're going to maybe put, I don't know, about $7 million more.
I believe they
developing
said
it.
about 4.5.
Oh, 4.5 more? Okay, yeah. So even then, you're talking about $12 million. So it's very significant. If people wonder why they have to charge such high rent sometimes, it's because they have to recoup all those costs via the rental leasing costs that they charge the tenants. But Paul, I also wondered if you could talk a little bit about this budget. I posted on the Chelmsford Reps and Residents group on Facebook today the Chelmsford Patch article about the town budget, wherein you had a discussion at the tri-board meeting, which took place last week or this past week. And one thing that was talked about, which was a significant change, is full-day kindergarten and some other budgetary items. I wondered if you could talk about the full-day kindergarten or the fire truck or anything else you might want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, the school committee is advocating for full-day kindergarten, and I don't think there was anybody at the table at the meeting or anybody I've spoken to who doesn't want full-day kindergarten. The question becomes, how do you fund full-day kindergarten? And right now, the choice has been they've chosen not to charge tuition, so they've not offered a full-day kindergarten. So the choices are continue what we're doing now, which is only half-day kindergarten, or full-day kindergarten with either tuition or tuition-free. The school committee is requesting tuition-free. The difficulty with the tuition-free is probably, if you heard the numbers in the presentation, you're talking over $750,000, and the question then becomes, where does the revenue come to fund that?
Yes.
Because we don't have that money available within the levy limit.
Yes.
And therefore then becomes the discussion. So
Yes.
I don't think it's a question about full-day kindergarten, because most communities, I think there's only a dozen in the state that don't offer it. But there are many in our 495 corridor who offer it, but on a tuition basis.
Yeah, they have
And
to
so
pay because.
So that's really the discussion that I know the school committee is continuing. And as I pointed out at that evening, they really need to decide right away, because in January they're going to be signing up for the enrollment for September, and therefore the parents need to know what's being offered, because there are many parents who will send their children to private full-day kindergartens because they're looking for the full-day instruction and also the full-day care of their child, because they may be employed and have commitments of child care. So that's really the big discussion. And what people need to remember is the only ones who can decide what school programs are offered are the school committee. What the town meeting does is we give them a certain amount of money, and this year we're basically saying they're going to have a budget of $50 million. And then within that $50 million, they decide what programs to offer.
Yes.
So neither myself or the selectmen or the town meeting can tell them how to spend that $50 million. All we vote under state law is how much money they receive.
Yes.
So ultimately the decision will come down to the school committee about whether to have full-day kindergarten. And then the second question is if so, how are they going to fund it?
Yes,
And
exactly,
therefore
'cause
they have to make choices,
They
just
can't
like we
just
all
go to
do.
the town and say, you come up with the extra $750,000
we don't have
or
that kind of-
million.
we don't have
We
that kind of
the
funding
money,
available.
So, right. So that sounds good. So in early January, the school committee needs to make the decision. And if they want to do that, they would have to cut other places within the
Exactly.
school budget. Because you're right, I think the
Or
town meeting.
charge. And that was the discussion, and as you heard from people
Or
like Claire
charge, yes.
Janot and the finance
'Cause some
committee,
towns-
they're charging for bus fees, they're
Yep.
charging for extracurricular activities.
Yes.
You know, they're funding a lunch program, and then the question becomes, well, then how do you fund kindergarten?
Yes.
And then what becomes the biggest bang for your dollar, for your tax dollars? And then there are a lot of people who don't believe we should even be taxing to the levy limit. So then that becomes the other part of the discussion of, well, how you can't have everything and then have it at an affordable price. And so that becomes the choice that they make as a committee, but also town meeting makes in terms of what funding level to provide them.
Yes.
And it's not just them, we also have to fund Neshoba Tech. You know, we have other costs in the town to public safety and so
Yes,
forth that we
yes.
have to provide.
Our budget, did I read, it's going to be about 112 million
Yes,
this coming
yeah.
year, something like that?
And obviously more than half of the budget goes towards education.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is what you would expect, you know,
Yeah.
in a community.
Well, thanks for the update, Paul. I appreciate that. Maybe if we could ask Phil, or as I call him, Dr. Phil. There was a great plant move recently,
Oh.
right, over at the...
That was a tremendous gathering of pretty much every group in town. A family, the Hiltons, moved in, and the Pryor family had grown peonies, thousands and thousands of peonies, covered every inch of their farm. So this family moved in, and they wanted to have their kids play in the yard, and then all these flowers came up. And they contacted the Chelmsford Garden Club and said, you can take these flowers, we need to have them out because we want to put a garden in. So we were under a strict limit of July 4th to get everything out. So they called us a month ahead of time, and we rallied the forces, and we called DPW and said we need 190 yards of loam. Some of that, I think, came from the football field, and they dumped that off, and then we laid out a garden, and we had 40 to 50 volunteers at garden clubs, church groups, and we dug up over 2,000 flowers. And the funny one is the first day we're moving, and we have all these trucks full of flowers, and we're driving across town, and people were pulling over because they thought it was a funeral.
Really? Oh, okay.
So we put them all in, and that was the time that it was over 100 degrees. So
Oh
we put
my
all the
God.
flowers in, and we got them in, and then we went back, and they said, well, do you need these paving stones? They said, no, we want to get rid of the paving stones. So we pulled up 400 paving stones, and they went to Camp Paul. And then they had, well, we said, what about the gravel under the paving stones? So we dug all that up, and that became our greenhouse base. So we pretty much took everything out of his yard. So he was happy.
Yeah.
And the flowers are in there. We had an Eagle Scout come in and put a watering system in. And so as of beginning of next year, we actually have a town flower nursery to go along with the town tree nursery. And it should be able to split the flowers. And so we should be able to have, several hundred peonies going out to different gardens all over town.
Wonderful.
At no charge to the town.
That's fantastic.
But it was everyone. It was the town. It was DPW. It was volunteers. It was the stewardship.
Yeah.
It was community gardeners. It was pretty much everyone we could grab hold of.
Speaking of the DPW, that building came out very nice, right, so far, right,
Yep,
Paul?
yep.
We had the grand opening, a year ago or 8 months ago, whenever it was.
Yeah.
And there's another part that needs to come before the town meeting, right? And the selectmen and you, whether we want to go with the next step?
Yeah, the question becomes if we still have the mechanics working on Richardson Road and the building over there, and then the question becomes at what time will we have the means to bring them across town in with everyone else? So that's on hold for the time being. Just
How much would that cost
you're probably
approximately?
talking well over $1.5 million.
About $1 million. So
Yeah.
it might be, maybe not this
Yeah, it
fiscal
won't
year,
be
but
this spring.
not the spring, maybe the following,
maybe
then.
seeing how the economy goes and how finances are. But
Yes.
But
yeah,
again,
thank
it's all a question of trade-offs, and
Yeah.
and the difference between a kindergarten and like the DPW is they're all funding, but yet a kindergarten's a recurring annual cost of
Yes.
$750,000 or plus, whereas the DPW would be a one-time thing. You'd spread it out over 20 years, so your impact is probably a tenth of what you'd have for a
Oh,
kindergarten.
yes.
So
And
that's why
then-
people sometimes confuse dollar amounts when
Oh, yeah.
it's a question of recurring costs as opposed to a one-time cost that you'd borrow over
Yes.
a 20-year period.
And people should keep in mind, too, that when you hire 20 teachers or any town employees, you have to think about the retirement benefits and
Right.
health care costs
Exactly.
until, I believe, they pass away, right, Paul? Is that the way
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have it
they're
now?
eligible for retirement.
So, I mean, it
benefits
gets
and retirement.
very, very expensive. In fact, the figure I saw for the full-day kindergarten, including those benefits, was $1.3 million.
Yeah, could be up to that.
Because
Yeah.
when you add in all that, and I think anytime we make a financial decision, like I do in my own life, I look at the long-term costs, not just the short-term.
Right.
Look at the full panoply of costs out there, so, anyway.
That's
And-
the word of the show is
Yeah, I know. That's
must have looked
your
that
word
one
of the day, Charlie.
Okay.
See what you get with a computer, you can look up all these fancy
That's what I'll
words and
do.
everything. Well, thank you, Paul. Maybe Becky, I wonder if you could quickly update us on the Land Conservation Trust. Just very quickly, maybe a minute, what that is, a minute or two, what that is and what it's doing now.
Sure. Well, not only historic preservation, but land preservation. So back in 1961, a group of people said, we should probably think about open space and keep it in town. Now that's 1961 when things were not as developed.
Yeah.
So 50 plus years later, there's about 80 acres of land in town, privately owned by the Chelmsford Land Conservation Trust. But it's for everybody to use. And we work with the stewards, with Phil and his group, whether we're clearing property or we're helping with doing a walk at the Thanksgiving forest or whatever. We're not so worried about what the boundaries are. We look at it as a town-wide effort to maintain open space. And I have to say that one of the best things lately is being more connected with the town, where some of their open space that they have purchased in the last several years has to have a restriction on it, a conservation restriction or an agricultural restriction. And the land trust is the holder of that restriction. So it's a legal document. It's just to make sure that it will remain open space for a long time. And it's a requirement by the state. And we're a happy organization to be willing to hold that.
Yes,
so,
and I'm a member of that. I think Charlie's and others. But how could people join that organization if they want to?
Well, we
do
have
you have a website?
We have a website, which is, you can type in Chelmsford Land Conservation Trust or Chelmsford Land Trust and .org. And we've got all that information on there.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's usually about $15 a year.
About $15 a year, and it helps to maintain the properties.
And you have these wonderful meetings every year, the annual meetings. This year it was really great because I love wild birds and hawks and owls. This guy came in, he gave a wonderful talk with the actual live owls there and hawks and falcons, right? Peregrine falcons.
That's right.
It was wonderful, and I love seeing those beautiful animals.
I do too, and I have to say that I love seeing younger folks, the students of town coming and watching, and their eyes are this big, as big as the owls, when they're looking at these wild animals up close. And if they can connect with nature, maybe then they'll get a community garden plot because they'll care about what they see in the town.
Wonderful. Well, Paul,
and Phil's preserving land. He's on the Oak Hill Study Committee. That's progressing as well.
preserving the land there. Thanks. Paul, I was wondering if you could quickly update us on the fire station and the Chelmsford Country Club.
Yeah, they're both moving along. The fire station, they're just near completion of the foundation. I think they've got to pour next week. So by Christmas, all of the foundation will be poured. Structural steel is scheduled to be delivered the second Monday in January. So by early February, you'll actually see the steel frame of the building, and then it'll be completed by October. The Country Club, that foundation is poured, and the frame of the building is up. So that'll be completed by April 1st. So both projects remain on time and on budget, which is the key thing.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I think this has been a fantastic show so far. And I just want to mention a couple of upcoming shows. One, I did mention the small business show that we're going to be doing with 5 small business people here on the show on January 14th. And one is Phil Jones and Nancy Paredes and this wonderful baker, Sarah, who, a lot of these people have little shops at the Chelmsford Winter Farmers Market. That's where I got this idea to do a show there. And just right away, the first 5 people I asked said, oh, we'd love to come on the show. So it's wonderful to have the opportunity to give these people space. And my next show is going to be January 7th, where I'm doing a 1-hour interview with a candidate who's running for governor, Evan Falchuk. So please tune in for those shows. And I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you very much for being on the show again, Paul.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
Have a good New Year's. Thank you very much, Becky.
It was great to be here. Thanks,
Becky
Tom.
Ward. Thank you very much, Charlie.
It's always interesting, Tom.
Thanks. Next time, number 23 for you. And thank you very much, Phil Stanway, for being here, for all
Always
that you
a pleasure.
do. And Becky and Charlie and all of you do volunteering for the town of Chelmsford. It's a wonderful thing. And thank you for these wonderful volunteers, George and Azora and Larry, coming in for every one of our shows here on a volunteer basis, doing such a great job. And thank you to our great director, Pete Perdula, for doing such an outstanding job with every show. So if you have any comments on the show, please send me an email at tcristiano@comcast.net. Ciao.